Ooh, look at that. It tastes like that Ghirardelli kind that you get with like the pecans and the extra chocolate chips in it. Like, so good. So how in the world are we gonna turn these regular sweet potatoes into brownies? These warm, delicious, gooey brownies taste so good that you're gonna wanna eat the entire batch. Trust me. So if you're vegan, or even if you're not vegan, you've probably seen all kinds of brownies made from all kinds of different vegetables like zucchini, black beans, chickpeas, avocados. Wait, I think that might actually be a fruit. And now sweet potatoes. And in my experience, sweet potatoes probably yields the most realistic tasting brownie because the texture of the sweet potato is naturally so great to make it super fudgy and gooey. Plus, sweet potatoes are obviously naturally sweet, but if you stick around, I'm gonna show you a special little trick on how to make your sweet potatoes even more sweet, making the brownies even more decadent. The first thing you wanna do to create your sweet potato brownies is to first prep the sweet potato. And here is the little trick that I was telling you about earlier. You want to roast your sweet potato. It really adds way more sweetness as it starts to caramelize a little bit. Yes, I know it's gonna take a little bit longer, but roasting it really is game changing, so do that. All you need to do to roast your sweet potato is wash your sweet potato and then poke it with a bunch of tiny holes with a fork, place it on a pan, put it in the oven at 425 for about 45 minutes to 60 minutes. Take it out of the oven, let it cool for a little bit, and then peel the skin off of your sweet potato, and then it's ready to use. This is the best way to eat a sweet potato. I would just eat this for like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and dessert. So now that your sweet potato is done, you will now prepare your brownie batter. I'm going to be using a food processor because it truly makes my life a little bit easier. You could use a blender. It might be a little more difficult with a blender. You might need to add some liquid or something, or just blend it in like smaller little batches. You could also do it by hand if you mash your sweet potato up really well. Those are all options for you based on what you have available in your kitchen. All right, so the first thing we're gonna add is our sweet potatoes. This is about 1 1/4 cup. So my whole sweet potato made that much. So you can use like 1 cup to 1 1/4 of a cup. Next, you're gonna add 1/4 of a cup of oat flour into the sweet potatoes. And if you don't have your own oat flour like me, you can make your own by using some oats, put it in a food processor or blender and grind it up until it's a nice flour. Next, you need 1/4 of a cup of all-purpose gluten-free flour. My favorite brands that I use are Namaste brand or Bob's Red Mill. Next, add 1/2 cup of baking cocoa or cocoa powder or raw cacao powder, whatever you have on hand. Today, I am using this baking cocoa. I honestly really like this brand. I found it at Costco and it makes a super rich and dark chocolate flavor. Next, you need 1/4 cup of maple syrup, and you do want to use maple syrup, or I guess you could use agave because you do want the liquid in your brownies. For this recipe, I would not sub it out with a dry sweetener. Next, just add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Then you need 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. All right, then you're gonna add 1/2 teaspoon of salt, and I have been obsessed with adding salt to all my desserts because it really brings out all of the flavors and adds a little bit of saltiness to the sweet. So after you have all of those ingredients in your food processor, you're gonna move on to your stovetop, or I guess you could use your microwave if you absolutely had to, and you're going to melt unsweetened cacao chips, or you could use just like a bar of unsweetened baking chocolate. All right, so I'm gonna go over to my stovetop, get a small saucepan and put in 1/3 of a cup of unsweetened cacao chips, and that equals about 60 grams or so, which is also about 2 ounces, maybe a little bit more ounces of the baking chocolate. And then I will be using 1/3 of a cup of nut butter, and I'm using the Abby's Better butter. I'm using the chocolate sunflower butter, but you could really use any nut or seed butter that you want. After that, you're just going to mix both of them together until it is smooth and melted and super chocolatey. Okay, so this is the consistency of mine, and it may vary depending on like what type of nut butter or seed butter that you use. Mine was a little bit thicker, but if yours is more smooth and creamy, then it might be a little bit more liquidy. Once you have your melted chocolate and nut butter, you're just gonna pour it into the food processor with all of your other ingredients. So we have all of our ingredients in our food processor, and now it is the time to blend it all up into a nice batter. All right, so as you can see, it's a pretty thick batter, and if you think this is like too thick for you or whatever, you could always try to add a little bit of applesauce to thin it out, or maybe even just a little splash of like almond milk or something. Honestly, this works for me just fine with the batter like this. It makes for nice fudgy, gooey brownies this way. So once your brownie batter is nice and thick and blended, you can go ahead and add in any add-ins that you want. Today I am using chocolate chips and chopped pecans, and for the chocolate chips I add anywhere from like half a cup to 1 cup, really whatever I'm feeling. I'm not going to tell you how many you can add because chocolate chips are great. I am using a vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, allergy-friendly chocolate chips, so you can do the same. Then I'm going to add about a half a cup of chopped pecans. Chop them up with a knife. You could use your fingers too. I've done that before as well. But I really like the texture that it gives to the brownie. It gives it a nice little crunch. It really like elevates the brownie to perfectness. So once your brownie batter is mixed together, you're just going to need a baking dish lined with parchment paper, and then you can start spreading your batter out into your pan. I'm using an 8x8 glass Pyrex dish, and that makes my brownies extra fudgy and thick, but if you want your brownies to be a little bit more thin, I would use a bigger pan so that you have more surface area and thinner brownies. So once you have your brownies spread evenly in your baking dish of choice, you can sprinkle on the pecans and then you can sprinkle on the chocolate chips. I like to add both of these to the brownies because it gives it more texture on the top. And then I always finish it off with sprinkling it with some extra salt to give it a nice little sweet and salty feel. And then I put it in the oven at 350 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes. So while those are baking, if you're always looking for a new vegan dessert recipe like me, I just wanted to let you know about my new holiday edition Plant Power Desserts ebook that is on sale right now for 40% off until Christmas Day. So if you want to check that out, go ahead and click the link in the description below. All right, so our brownies just came out of the oven. They're looking so amazing. So I ended up baking them for about 25 minutes, and then I broiled them on high for about 2 minutes after that, just because I wanted to enhance the flavor of the pecans and get them a little more roasted, as well as the chocolate, give it a nice more toasty, kind of like a s'mores-ish kind of feel with the roasted pecans and chocolate on top. So that is highly recommended, but make sure you watch it closely because you definitely don't want to burn the top. Not a good look. And you just want to let them cool for about 30 minutes or so that you can slice into them and serve them as you wish. But I'm really impatient, so I'm just going to dig in right now and see how they are. Ooh, look at that. Nice and fudgy. Okay, hope I don't burn my tongue. Oh my gosh. It tastes like that Ghirardelli kind that you get with like the pecans and the extra chocolate chips in it. Like when you were a kid and your mom would get the box kind and you knew it was a good day when she bought the Ghirardelli kind instead of like the store brand kind. So I know that you're looking for some more vegan dessert recipes, so you can go ahead and click this video right here, which is my vegan cinnamon roll recipe. Super amazing. Or if you're in the mood to binge watch some vegan dessert recipes, here's a whole playlist of all the vegan dessert recipes on my channel. Meanwhile, I'm going to devour all of these. I might share with my husband.
Nope.